Welcome. We're here for the first shout in this new series on the wings of hope. Could you ask for a more beautiful subject? I'm so ready for it. Belle's so ready for it. And Jeff is getting ready to channel Adamus. I hope you can feel the beauty of the energy surrounding us here in Kona. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful energy, and we feel all of you. Thank you for tuning in. So, with that, let's get ready for this special new series. And as always, let's start with some conscious breathing. That good, deep breath. Breathe into you, letting the energies flow with each breath. Feel it. Allow it. Take that good, deep breath. That breath of allowing, always more important than ever. There's so much to feel. Breathe it in. Be with it. Allow it. Adamus is here for each of us. Breathe him in. He invites it. Allow it. Take that good deep breath, honoring you for all that you are. Breathe the I am that I am. I exist. Breathe with presence. It's that breath of awareness, consciousness. Breathe it. Be it. Breathe as the angel that you are, the master that you are, the human that you are. Breathe as we move on.
You with the sad eyes, don't be discouraged. Oh, I realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can lose sight of it, and the darkness inside you makes you feel so small. But I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors. That's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. True colors are beautiful, oh, like a rainbow. Show me a smile then. Don't be unhappy, can't remember when I last saw you laughing. If this world makes you crazy and you've taken all you can bear, just call me up, because you know I'll be there. And I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show. Just show your true colors. True colors are beautiful, oh, like a rainbow. Such sad eyes. Take courage now and realize, when this world makes you crazy and you've taken all you can bear, just call me up, because you know I'll be there. And I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors, true colors, true like a rainbow. Yeah, 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 yeah. Show me your colors. Show me your colors. Show me your rainbow. Show me your colors. Show me your rainbow. That's why I love you.
I am that I am. Adamus and Saint-Germain. Dear Shambra, so good to be back with you for this new Shoud series. So good to be rejoining together with Shambra from all around the world. I have to admit, I took a bit of a break myself since the beautiful Merlin gathering. Time to really take a good look, to reflect on what's happening with Shambra, what's happening in the world. So I took it extra easy this past month and even tried to encourage Cauldre and Linda and the Crimson Circle staff to do so. They didn't just do so well with that, but they got in a little extra relaxation. You know, one of the reflections that I had to do with the fact that the Ascended Masters, well over 13,000 of us now, didn't have to go through what you're going through. We went through our own stuff, of course, but I was looking at it thinking what it was like in my lifetime or Kathumi's lifetime or even Yeshua's lifetime, and he went through a lot. But we didn't have to go through what you're going through right now. The speed of things, the speed of change that's happening, the trying to stay balanced with everything going on, and on top of that, being a master, being in your realization. We didn't have the noise of mass consciousness, nowhere near what you have now. We didn't have the dramas that are going on the planet right now. In a way, it was a harsher lifestyle back then for so many of the Ascended Masters. We didn't have a lot of the modern conveniences either. It was harsher, but in a way it was actually easier. Things were simpler, not as much complexity, not as much commotion and noise and distraction. If you wanted time to yourself back in our lifetimes, it was much easier to get. Now, there's so much going on, and even if you think you're living by yourself in the woods somewhere, there's still the energetic noise of the planet. So, before I begin, before I launch in, I want to truly acknowledge each and every one of you for what you're doing, staying here on the planet. That's what you agreed to do. It's the very reason that you're here in this lifetime. So you're really fulfilling your passion, your commitment. But it's rather challenging, as you know. The beauty is that we have each other. You have Shambra from all over the planet. You have the Ascended Masters. And you have your and self. We're going to be talking about that later. But for right now, we're launching into our new series, launching into this beauty of On the Wings of Hope. And dear Linda, I see you came dressed up all for it, On the Wings of Hope. And Belle, of course, if you can get a shot of her, dear Belle got dressed up also, not so much with Cauldre, but Wings of Hope.
There she is.
It's such a time for that right now on the planet. It's not just a title of a new Shoud series, but it's the way of life, and it's truly what you're doing here, On the Wings of Hope. You know, I always have to chuckle. I think most people think that words like hope or love have been around for a long time, but they're really not. They're relatively contemporary. As I've talked to you about and said that love has only been on the planet for about 5,000 years. And the word hope, it's relatively new. It dates back to maybe the 14th century. It hasn't been around that long on the planet. There were other words kind of similar, kind of. There's a Hebrew word, tikva, which kind of means hope, or hatikva. But the real essence of the word hope, as it is in English, hasn't been around that long. It's relatively new. As a matter of fact, interesting little factual note here, but the first time the adjective of hope was ever used, hopeful, was in 1597 by, any guesses, dear Linda?
Saint-Germain.
Close. It was William Shakespeare. Was the first one to ever use the word hopeful.
I thought Adamus was William Shakespeare.
But in that time, it was known as William Shakespeare. So you're half right. You get half credit.
Oh, only half. Okay.
Half credit. So it really hasn't been around that long, this term hope. And what's the difference between hope and dream? A dream is something kind of, I guess, lofty. Dream is something you do at night, but your dreams are kind of out there in a way. A hope to me is more solid. And actually, if you look back on the etymology of the word hope, it's derived from some kind of older terms that, one term, hopa, English term, not hoppy, hopa. I had to throw that in for Caldera. And basically, that word meant rock.
Oh.
Rock. And the hope is something more solid than a dream, more tangible, more desired at the human level. And right now, this hope is truly needed on the planet. It's something that, well, actually, if you go back to the origins again, the word chambre, the original word, kind of loosely translated, means family of the rock. So isn't it interesting now that we're talking about on the wings of hope and about the rock or the solidness of it? Hope is not just a dream. It's not just a fanciful desire. Hope is a passion. Hope is something that you're not just dreaming of becoming, but you're wanting to become it. You know, oftentimes people, they dream of things, their aspirations in life, they dream of them, but actually, so much of the time, they actually keep the dreams out there. They don't necessarily want them to become real, because then you have to deal with it. But hope is like, no, we want it tangible. We want it here right now.
Is that like desire?
It's more tangible, more solid than desire, but yes, similar. You know, you get into the nuances of words, and they can mean different things. But the word hope is very present, very present. Whereas the word dream, not necessarily, or desire, they're kind of more out there, but on the wings of hope. As I've said, the planet, one of the biggest issues on the planet right now is that there's hopelessness, more so than I can recall in a long time. This hopelessness leads to depression, and depression certainly is prevalent on the planet. About 6 to 8% of the planet is clinically depressed.
Wow.
That's a lot of people. If you do the math on that, that's a lot of clinically depressed people. But those who aren't diagnosed with it, those who have it, but it hasn't totally kept them from being in life, upwards of 80% or more, probably closer to 90% of humans have a degree of hopelessness, and that leads to depression. Depression is really, it tires you out, of course. It kicks out your passion and kicks out the joy of life. Depression keeps you low, and so much of the planet is hopeless right now, and it's kind of sad. And I know what I'm saying is very hopeless, and you think, why even try if there's this level of depression and hopelessness on the planet? Why even try? But I go back to an old saying, it's always darkest before the dawn. And that's kind of what we're in right now. So many forces are converging right now on the planet. Everything from the technologies that you have to old history, karma, old ways of doing things, suppression due to power, the sexual energy virus. You put all these things together that are converging, and it creates this factor of hopelessness. And you add to that there's really, in my humble opinion,
Humble?
well, in my opinion, in my grandmaster opinion, there are really very few dynamic leaders on the planet right now, whether it's in politics or business, even religions. There are a few, but the planet is hoping for some type of savior, some type of dynamic, charismatic personality, but at the same time they're afraid of it because that charismatic personality might be the Antichrist. So before they even start, they're defeated. So this general feeling of hopelessness on the planet, and it is kind of sad. But here we are, as Shambhala is saying, the Shoud series is on the wings of hope. It's like, what are we kidding ourselves?
No.
What are we playing a game? What are we trying to put blinders on and pretend things aren't bad? Not at all. Not at all. You could actually say everything is converging at this time like it is, and it creates this overall feeling of hopelessness, and hopelessness killed the magic a long time ago, hopelessness on the planet. Magic was really a part of life on the planet. Whether 600, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, there was still an element of magic. And if nothing else, the belief in magic, that we can do magical things, that there are magic in the forests and the woods, there is magic in your nocturnal encounters. But those have been pushed out too. So there's not even a lot of magic on the planet. So who are we to come along and say, on the wings of hope, for a planet that is pretty depressed, pretty sad? But that's exactly why we're here. And I want you to understand, it is not a hopeless planet at all. I've told you before, there's no turning back. There is too much goodness in the hearts of most humans. And it might be suppressed or covered over, but there is too much goodness. And if you're having one of those hopeless days about humanity, feel into it for a moment, the people you know. Oh, and they might even be enemies. They might have caused you grief or pain. They might be in some type of lover's quarrel with them, whatever it may be. But when you feel into them, they have goodness in their hearts. They really don't want bad things to happen to you or others or to themselves. They're confused, they're lost, they're caught up in the turbulence and the chaos on the planet right now. But one of the core reasons we can talk about hope right now is the goodness in humans. Now, I know it's difficult to accept if somebody walks up to you and punches you in the face, or you encounter a rude driver on the street, or whatever it may be, a bad clerk at a store. But if you go beyond that, if you go into the and, there is so much goodness in their heart. And that's one of the things that makes up the wings of hope right now. The goodness. And what we're here to do is first feel into your own goodness, and then feel into the goodness of humans. That's the wings. That's what's going to cause us to soar. So let's take a moment to do that right now. Feel into your own goodness, without all the self-judgment and self-doubt, into your goodness. Take a moment to do that. Some of you are struggling a bit with it. How can you be have so much goodness when you do so many bad things? It has nothing to do with doing bad things. It's nothing to do with some of the things you might have done recently. At your core, in your heart, your human heart, and even what I call your human soul, not a removed soul that's somewhere else, but in this human soul. And yes, humans are starting to have their own soul. I'm going to talk about that much today, but it'd be great material for Kihak or for one of our upcoming gatherings. Humans are starting to develop a soul, and that soul is made up of goodness. And that's why I was so excited to call this series On the Wings of Hope. Now, we recently had our Merlin event, great event, and I've been keeping track and talking to the other entities, the other presenters about who was the most popular, who got the highest ratings, who is being talked about the most, and it wasn't me. Well, no, that's fine. I'm fine with it. It wasn't me. When it comes down to it, it's pretty much a tie between what was supposed to be Yeshua, but, things happened, and it was Sananda, and also Jamie from 2044. Tremendous interest in what Jamie had to share. So Jamie was invited, a special guest, comes from the future, 2044, and as I was setting all this up for it to happen, which there was a tremendous amount of preparation work between the realms to make this happen, to make Jamie to be able to be here in the year 2024 with you for that event. But as I was setting it up, I was laughing or chuckling to myself anyway, because I knew the reaction of some, including Caldra, was that, as the words were coming out of his mouth, I know he wanted to filter, but made very sure that he didn't, because it is a bit much. It is a bit much to imagine this planet just 20 years from now as almost utopia, as a place where there's no wars, there's no great financial inequities. The old power mongers on the planet are gone, where technology serves you in a healthy way, where everybody has their own AI assistant that's doing things for them, not so they can just sit on the sofa and, what do you call it, Caldra? It would be couch potatoes, but so you can actually enjoy life. So when you look at this, just 20 short years away that Jamie talked about, as Caldra wrote in his article, it seems a little bit ludicrous, a little bit unrealistic. Oh no, actually, very unrealistic. You look back over history, what has changed that rapidly in 20 years? You look around you right now at this planet, and you look at the wars that are taking place. You look at this heated up situation in the Middle East right now. You take a look at the situation with Ukraine and Russia and other things all around the world, but you wonder, 20 years, that's a very short period of time. I know many of you get depressed, bogged down just by everyday things on the planet, and the games that people play, and the government restrictions and taxes and disease and mental illness and everything else. How is this all going to change in such a short period of time? Is Jamie just a pipe dream? Is Jamie a very, very, very limited potential from the future? So it was a bit of a stretch, I would say, with the whole Jamie presentation, and deliberately so. First of all, to get you thinking. Now, the initial feeling was, that society sounds wonderful, but how do we go from a planet of hopelessness? How do we go from a planet of such imbalances and a planet where there is tremendous amount of old karma and anger and everything else? How do we go from that to Jamie's time, just 20 years away? So I know many of you have pondered that, or you thought, well, this was a fun presentation from Jamie, but not real. And I'm here to say that with hope and a few other things we're going to talk about, it is very, very possible. It wasn't just a kind of a potential that was drawn out with very small chance of ever becoming real. It's a very, very, very strong potential of what could happen not only on the planet, but with you personally. So intentionally calling this On the Wings of Hope, intentionally bringing in Jamie at this time, and intentionally saying, Dear Shambra, it's time to go to that next point of separation, something that Tobias named a long time ago. It's when you're kind of going along in a certain way, and then you hit a certain point, a certain energy dynamic, and instead of just going along the same old path, it takes a leap, or it takes a sharp right turn at 90 miles an hour, or whatever you want to say, but a point of separation, a point of transition. And that's where we're at right now. That's what you're here on the planet for, and that's what we're here to do. So let's take a deep breath into hope, into Jamie's future, which could be your future, into a planet that's rid itself of the imbalances, the inequities. You know, this is the planet of love. Nowhere else like this. And perhaps with that goodness of the human soul, and with the factor of love, especially love 2.0, Jamie's existence in 20 years from now isn't just a dream, but it's actually real, brought about by hope. I know it seems so far-fetched. It seems so way out there. But you know what, Chambra? You're good at going beyond. You're good at the different scenarios. You're good at bringing the new things in. So let's at least give it a good chance. So in the past, I've talked about potentials and probabilities. Potentials and probabilities, I believe it's a recording or it's a product in your store. Potentials and probabilities. Let's talk first about the potentials or the probabilities for the planet. Probabilities are what's probably going to happen. Based on the current trajectory of the planet, if you were a statistician, if you were somebody who followed social patterns and made certain projections for the future, you would say that based on what's on the planet right now, the probability is that there'll be more wars, a lot more wars. The probability is that there'll be new diseases that come along, like coronavirus, what's now called COVID, but the coronavirus. The probability is that the rich are going to get richer, and the poor poorer, of course. The probability is that the environment is going to be in such a state of chaos, what you call climate change, that the storms that are occurring more and more frequently with more and more devastation, they're going to increase. The probability is that the planet is going to be a very harsh place to live on. The food sources are going to dry up because of the weather patterns are going to be more and more difficult to grow food and distribute food. And when people are hungry, they do very, very different things than they normally would do. The probability, if you were to really map it out intellectually, thinking through it, is that really the imbalances or indifferences between the major races of the planet are going to continue and escalate. The probability is that the polarity on the planet, which is pretty much at an all-time high, the polarity is going to get even more so. You're going to have the two sides that are so divided, but yet of really kind of equal strength or balance. Generally, when you have a black versus white, when you have masculine versus feminine or good versus bad, it's generally more in the kind of the scale of 1/3 to 2/3, and it goes back and forth all the time. That's not an exact number, but there's a imbalance. Like if you put two kids on a, what do you call it, a seesaw, one weighs 100 pounds, the other weighs 50 pounds or 66 or whatever it happens to be. It's usually that way, and then it goes back and forth over time. But right now on the planet, we don't have that. It's almost 50-50 in so many situations. And that makes it really difficult to move forward. That makes it difficult to switch sides to where, now one side has the more the power versus the other, and then it flips back and forth over time. But when it's that equally polarized, it's very difficult for any flip to happen. I mean, because there's nothing to flip to. Both sides are, in a way, equal and opposite at the same time. The probability is that the planet is going to run into massive, huge problems with the coming technologies, with artificial intelligence. It's at its earliest stage right now, this AI. And many of you are getting to experience it. And I keep asking Shambra, please delve into it, feel into it, don't be afraid of it. It's important to know because it is one of the greatest factors of change on the planet right now. I almost boil it down to two things that are causing massive change. One of them is technology with artificial intelligence. The other is love. And they don't seem like they'd be a good match, but these are the two big change agents on the planet right now. One is right out in front of you, AI. The other is happening much more subtly in the background. But these are the big things that are changing the planet. The probability is that AI will be used for sinister purposes. AI will be used to hijack your computers, your cars, your homes, your financial systems. That'll be hacked. That's the probability. It's already happening on the planet, but again, in the early stages of AI, where it's not yet quite reached what we call general AI with human-like abilities, but that will come about next year. And you can imagine how it continues to grow and how it can be used for very bad purposes. And it only takes a small percent of people to do that. And you'd be driving down the road one day and your AI-powered electric car, and suddenly it just stops. And you get a message on the screen that says, if you want to keep driving, pay up. And that's just the tip of it. It's everything from hacking into financial institutions, where suddenly any monies that you had are gone because of AI. And try going back to your bank and explaining that and having them take responsibility, not when it happens to millions and millions of people overnight. The probability is that AI is going to be used for the military purposes, already is being, but to a much bigger extent, where you have AI-controlled drones and robots and military devices, and they are so powerful and so efficient that they make current warfare look like child's play. Just bear with me, Bear with me.
That's pretty depressing.
It's hopeless. Yeah, it's hopeless. But let me get to my point, So you have the whole potential misuse of AI and technology along the way. That's the probability. If you chart out, again, where the planet is going, there's more conflict with religious groups than ever before. And it's turning into more violent conflict. And I'm not just talking about some of the groups that you hear about in your news right now, but suddenly you have a group of radical I'm going to say Catholics. I'm not picking on Catholics, but I'm just using that as Lutherans. No, Lutherans are never radical. A group of very conservative Catholics, and suddenly they're acting up because they feel that, well, the end of the world is coming. You've got all these dynamics happening. You've got, again, the potential for epidemic diseases across the planet. And you tie that all in with hopelessness and depression, and more people literally every day going on antidepressant medications, which is simply like putting a lid on a boiling pot of oil. And you put the lid on and you think, oh, good, it's not boiling anymore. We've taken our meds and everything's under control. The pot is still boiling. You just put the top over it. And sooner or later, it's going to just blow off. And that's what these meds ultimately do. They are suppressants more than anything. But it doesn't solve a problem of the boiling oil in the pot, and it will blow over. You can imagine now where you have a good solid generation, or maybe a generation and a half now, of people that are addicted to these medications, the antidepressants, and they rely on them. They have to have them. You can imagine now with these millions and millions and millions and millions of people all over the world taking one form or the other, and suddenly the tops start blowing off one by one, million by millions. And you've got a mess. You've got a real mess on the planet. I'm sorry, I know this is supposed to be on the Wings of Hope, but...
Yeah, it's not where it's going right now.
I do like the butterfly.
Well, thank you. Cauldre has very good taste.
Yeah. So these are the probabilities. This is what a statistician would look at and map it out and say, well, sure, a few good things happen along the way, and we're able to provide better health care if you have the money. We're able to provide better health care. And so many of you know there's wonderful breakthroughs in medicine right now if you have the money. That causes more division, that causes more separation, that causes all sorts of things. And a statistician would look and say, the future doesn't look real great. There's some bright spots here and there, but all in all, this is the path that the planet's on. Taxes are going to go up. Of course, that's a obvious anywhere. You have things right now across the world, housing, the shortage of housing, the education system. I don't want to go any further because now some of you are just crying. But
thank you.
Yeah, those are the probabilities. But we as Shaumbra and I as an Ascended Master don't buy into probabilities because probabilities don't show what lies underneath, the goodness of humans. It doesn't show the light coming into the planet. The statistician knows nothing about light coming into the planet or consciousness or any of that. They're simply using data and projecting into the future. And they don't think of things like hope or dreams or aspirations or any of that. They just look at data. So to them, the world's not on a real good path. And we look at potentials. That's what we do as Shaumbra. We look at the underlying energies. We look at the underlying causes. We look at not just the data in front of us, but what's really underneath and above. And I know each and every one of you can feel the potentials. That is why I brought in Jamie for the Merlin event. Yes, it's a potential. And maybe right now it seems like a very dim potential, but I know it's not, and I know you know it's not. To me, it's as real or more real than anything else. And again, I base it on the goodness of humans that has been hidden for a long time, but is ready to come out. And enough humans on the planet right now that are bringing in the light, in the consciousness. And AI will also help move consciousness forward. It's a amazing side effect of the technology. It's causing the whole discussion of consciousness, which means that when it's put out on the table like that, when it's discussed, it gets into consciousness and it affects it. I look at potentials of this planet. I look at each and every one of you, the very hard work you've been doing here, the realm work that you've been doing that opened the gates to allow more consciousness here. I look at what we talked about, jokingly talked about, is the bridge workers now, bridging between the realms, bridging between the many potentials that can come in here right now. The potentials are everywhere. They're unlimited. It's mind-boggling. There are so many potentials, but yet people get very mentally focused and they just go along the track of probability. The dreamers like you, the ones who understand love like you, understand that the potentials can be very, very real. It's not a pipe dream. It's not a moonshot. And when you start living in that potential, when you start imagining that potential, it starts to happen. Therefore, shifts occur. Shifts occur. Again, it seems almost improbable that we could have a Jamie future in 20 years from now. But I know it's very, very real. There's another dynamic that takes effect, and this is back to magic almost, but it's really not. Jimmy talked about something happening in the year 2032-33. That's less than 10 years from now. And I'm surprised there hasn't been more discussion about it, but even in Jamie's eyes from the year 2044, he was looking back into that time frame saying, something happened. Something happened. And nobody really knew or could define exactly what it was. They just know something happened. In the year 2044, there were a lot of theories about it. There were theories that it was just caused by the human desire to move into something else. It was caused by some event that happened on the planet. It was caused by just, that it was time for humanity to make a change. So he talked about this shift that happened. In the subsequent question and answer session, which you and Cauldre did, that is available to those who viewed, one of the questions was, what is the world population at that point in 2044? And the answer that Jamie gave was about 4 billion. 4 billion. That's about half of the population that's on the planet right now. That's a lot of people that aren't here. What happened to them? Jamie didn't talk about a disease that wiped out half the planet or nuclear war that wiped out half. He said a shift occurred. And it was, again, hard to define because the shift wasn't necessarily physical, but something happened. And from it came many, many other realities. I forgot exactly the number he put on, but 5 or a dozen or whatever, different realities. In a way, the consciousness of the planet split. Without any catastrophic things happening, it just split. And those who were ready to move forward into a new world, a world with love, and a world without all the imbalances and hardships, they went forward one way. The ones who still liked power and battles, the ones who still liked, held on to their karma and held on to abuse, they went in another way, forward in their book, maybe not in your definition, but they went forward. And a number of other groups that simply shifted consciousness. They didn't wake up one morning and find that the planet had blown up or they were saved by ETs or anything. As a matter of fact, most people were never even aware of a specific date or time of the shift. It just happened. It's hard to imagine in the human mind, particularly if you're looking at probabilities. Probability of that type of thing happening are just about zero. But because of the inherent magic of consciousness and of the goodness of humans, it did happen. Things just went their own ways. And about half of the world's population continued on into what could be this utopian society that Jamie talks about. And that's a pretty good number, having half. And it was like suddenly the desire to battle wasn't there. The desire for greed wasn't there. In this shifted world, there was no tolerance anymore for abusive leaders and power and for corporations taking advantage of people. It just wasn't there anymore. It was like the planet suddenly had this huge shift into their own goodness, into their own human soul. It wasn't like there was 4 billion dead bodies laying around at all. It was just a new world. And in a way, yes, it was confusing, but in this shift that occurred, everybody had an underlying understanding that this was the new world. They didn't understand how the dream came to be, how this potential happened, but they realized it happened, and they rejoiced. They rejoiced. Some claimed it was divine intervention or alien intervention, but ultimately nobody really cared. And that may seem odd because you'd think, well, no, I need to know exactly what happened. The fact is there was, I guess you could say, an awakening on the planet. And suddenly things were as people truly dreamt that they could be and truly hoped that they could be. And what was the use of going back and trying to figure it all out? The whole thing was that they, you, we did it. And there wasn't really the knowledge or understanding that there were these other realities that were created in the shift. It was speculated, but nobody really knew. Some who had Shambra backgrounds and referred back to our information said, well, here's what happened. But ultimately, it really didn't matter. The fact is that a shift occurred. It was a shift in consciousness and light. It was a shift of people saying, no more. We're tired of being led down these paths of destruction and of war and of imbalances. We're tired of that now. We claim our sovereignty. We claim our love. And we move forward. So in a way, you could say that it absolutely did happen, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen because there were enough humans too that didn't go forward in this way of the new Earth, but enough humans that kept on their old paths, the paths of greed and destruction and everything else. So in other words, they chose their reality. It wasn't chosen for them. It wasn't like Yeshua showed up and judged everybody and said, okay, you go into door number A and you go to door number F over here. It wasn't like that at all. But the shift did occur. Now, that is taking what somebody into probabilities, a statistician would say, that's a huge leap. I mean, that's a huge leap. And that's exactly my point. As we're here now in this new series, On the Wings of Hope. Yes, and it is possible. Absolutely. And it doesn't come from just wishful thinking. It doesn't come from thinking that you have to be a better person, do something better, you have to clean up your old wicked ways. None of that. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because suddenly we're evangelizing and to all the world about what we're doing. None of that. It doesn't happen because some angelic being comes down and saves your ass. None of that. It happens because, first of all, we allow it. And it may seem like some far-flung potential, but it is a possibility, a very, very strong potential. That's why it happens. But there's another reason, an important reason, and it's something that we're going to get into right now. I'm going to ask Linda to draw a big ampersand on your board there, a big ampersand. And
Okay.
so in this new series, we go deep into the and. Remember when I said that? Remember when I said a long time ago, I want to be remembered for two things in my work. I want to be remembered for allowing and. I know it's not new, I've said it before, but now we're there. This is the point of separation. I'm not going to talk so much about allowing anymore. I think you're sick and tired of that, and you've allowed about as much as you can. And now it's the and. It's the and. The and is acknowledging that there are multiple potentials, multiple realities. You're no longer stuck in this single form of reality. The and is saying that right now, today, that you might have a health issue, for instance, and it's occupying a lot of your time, energy, attention, consciousness, everything else. But we're going to start going into the and with everything. It's going to be the underlying and overlying theme of this new series. While you may have a health issue right now, there is the and. And it's not off there somewhere else. It's right here, right now. And the and is you don't have a health issue. You might be going through some struggles in your life right now. You might have let's say, a love relationship that's not good. And it's causing a lot of stress and tension, and it's affecting your health, your energy, everything else. And it's grueling to go through. It causes everything, anger, frustration, very hard on yourself, criticism and judgment. And you don't have that love calamity, not at all. This isn't a mental thing about saying, okay, I'm gonna mentally tell myself, no, I don't have any love problems. No, you got both. You have the and. You have the reality of what you're living through right now with that love situation, and you don't. You start to live in both worlds. You start to understand you're not trapped in this one reality base here. You start to understand that the and is ever present, and you can feel into it, you can allow into it, you can be it anytime you want. And on top of that, that is a wonderful and, Linda. I expected a little stick figure and, but that's a beautiful ampersand. Yes. And could you put a little smiley face on it?
Where would you like? Up here?
Not on the butt.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Little smiley face. So we have our Shambra version of the ampersand, of the and symbol with a smiley face on it. So, excuse me. That's so cute. Thank you. So we go into the and now. And I'm going to be talking about it, pushing it, reminding you all the time. You say, I'm just having financial problems. And there is the reality where you don't. And that reality is as real as your financial problem, but your emotional self is anchored in the financial difficulty part rather than the abundance part. Or what you've been doing all the way along is trying to move out of the financial difficulty and into the financial success or abundance. And you've been trying to go from one to the other, and it's kind of tough. So you go into the and. And when you do that, you find that you're in a position now to be in both, to say, okay, here's the lack of abundance situation that I've had, and believe it or not, it's been serving you for whatever weird reasons. And over here, a natural free-flowing abundance. And now you have the opportunity to feel into both of them. And typically you'd say, well, yeah, I definitely want the abundance, but no, there's been reasons for having the lack. You feel into both of them. Which feels more suited to you now? Which feels better? And you can have both if you want. You can have both. But I have a feeling after a long time of the lack of abundance, you're going to want to go for the more free-flowing abundance. So you start anding everything in your life. Some of you, Shambra, you're concerned because, well, you're getting older right now, and you look in the mirror, oh, I'm getting older, and this is terrible. No, it's the and. You are actually in a reality getting younger, or maybe not aging, or maybe all the above. And doesn't have to be just one or the other, and can be many. And you start feeling into those realities, and you realize you're not trapped, you're not stuck. You realize that you now can bring in and live the other potentials. You're not locked in a prison anymore. You say you have issues with addictions, drinking, smoking, whatever it might be, eating, and you don't. And this isn't a made-up, make-believe reality or playing psychological games. This is the true nature of reality, the true nature of energy and consciousness. It is many. You've been so used to being brought into this single form of reality through gravitation, gravity, through things like karma, and just, if nothing else, routine patterns. But the fact is that you're truly always in the and. And again, it's not about saying I'm going to move away from aging into youth. Maybe there's a value or a wisdom in aging. And maybe it's having both simultaneously, to where you can literally be in front of a mirror and 1 minute feel or look and see the aging, and at the same moment also see the youthfulness that's there. Some of you are saying that you don't feel like you're a master. You don't feel like you're a master. You have to keep working at it, and it's a game that you're playing, but that's the way you feel, unmasterly. So I'm going to challenge you into the and, which is very real. I'm going to be getting much deeper into the physics and metaphysics of this as we go, particularly as we go into Kihak, but here in the Shouds also. There is a physics to this that says that nothing in all of creation is singular, is just one thing other than your I am. Everything else is the and, is multiple, is potentials for you to choose from, to do with what you want to do. You can be a master and not a master at the same time. And you can also be neither at the same time. You can be, you say, well, why would I choose not to be a master? I don't know, for reasons, so you can experience being a human, so days you can be more like other people, so you have empathy for them, because maybe you don't think you're worthy, because you like searching. There's a lot of excuses, but try the and, the big ampersand on the board over here. Try the and. Every moment now of your life going forward, everything you do, whether it's something joyful, you're at a restaurant having a nice meal, feel into the and. You're not at the restaurant and you're not having a good meal. Try both ways. This isn't just about going into the goodies. Start to feel all the way around into things. into the and. All of life and all of reality is so multiple. It's not locked into one thing until you become a human, and that's only temporary. It's many, many things. And as I've talked about in the past, that even you take this coffee mug that Calder's holding, it exists here, you see it, you think you see it, but do you really see it? Calder probably thinks, well, he sees it because he's also holding it, but do you really see it through the camera and through your computer? It's real in a way. It also has its counterpart in the other, you could say another realm, another dimension, but that realm is now right here. It's with us, and it's got its it's not physical, but yet it's there. Everything has to be that way to maintain a balance. And it's the same way with the and. For every potential you're experiencing, everything you're going through, there are many ands. They used to be far out there. Even the of this coffee mug seemed like it was light years away. Even the other potentials and probabilities always seemed like they're in some sort of dream world out there, that they weren't here. But that's changed since Heaven's Cross. It is all right here. It's one of the first true acts of Heaven's Cross, bringing the potentials from the other realms right here, right in front of you. But you're not quite aware of them yet because you're used to looking through the very probability-oriented focuses. As you start to go into the end of everything, you're watching a movie and you're not watching a movie, because that is exactly true. And then you realize how fun it is, because now you can be watching the movie and not watching the movie at the same time. You can be enjoying it, but you're not trapped in it. You can be doing anything, and that's the beauty of the and that's where we're going. Jamie talked about 2044, just 20 years away. That's a generation away. And while it seems like a leap, it's not. It's the and. It's a potential that can be manifested. It's going to be there anyway. I mean, it is absolutely 100% going to be there. But it may not be some people's reality. And it may not be 4 million, it might be 400,000. It's not the important part. The part is that potential is there. And all you have to do is and it. And then feel in to say, would I rather go into that earth scenario? Would I rather stay in the one where there's pollution and war and crimes and injustice? And it's totally up to you. And you say, well, it's stupid to even talk about staying in the old kind of a grayish world, but there's reasons why you did and you do. There's reasons why some people are constantly in bad relationships, and reasons why some people go lifetime after lifetime after lifetime with lack of abundance. They are still getting something from it. As you go into the and, you'll have a much better idea why certain things have happened in your life, what you were getting from a situation. But as you go into the and, you realize that you're no longer trapped, you're no longer a prisoner. You start living in the true and of things. So beginning with this series on the Wings of Hope, we're going to be focusing, we're going to be allowing into the and. I'm going to be constantly reminding you, and, when you complain to me at night that where's your light body? That's a big one I get all the time. Oh, my light body's not here, and I'm just in this physical body. And I'm going to say, and it. Not end it. And it. And it. And it requires, to a degree, the imagination, but it's really just saying, and it. Stop getting so stuck in, I don't have a light body. And it. And this is where true imagination comes in, true light comes in, because suddenly you realize You can play with anything. Yeah, even a disease, and that's a tough one because you're like, you've got stage 4 cancer, and what do you mean and it? I'm going to end it. I'm not going to end it. No, have fun now as much as you can into the and. You don't have it, and because there is a scenario, a reality, and a very strong potential where you don't have it. If you have a situation like that, don't try to think your way out of your disease. You're getting into a mental game and you're only solidifying the problem. Don't try to do, happy thoughts to get you out of it. It's not that at all. It's realizing everything is just potentials. The potentials have been far off there for a long, long time, but now they're here and you can and anything of yours. Don't do it for other people. Don't and the world. This is yours. I said before that there's so much hopelessness on the planet right now. There's hopelessness in Shaumbra, lesser degree, but many Shaumbra are still experiencing depression, and ultimately depression is caused because you've lost hope. You've lost hope that there is something more than this. And so you get depressed and hopeless because you're like, no, this is it. This is reality. With the traffic and the rude people and nobody gives me a break and poor me and everything else. So you lose hope, you lose passion, you lose connection with your human soul. And that's why you get depressed. And then you're told that it's a disease. It's not a disease. It's a condition. It's a state of being. And what do? You're having one of those miserable, depressing days. You got a migraine headache. You don't want to talk to anyone. You just hate to even be here on this planet. You're having one of those really bad Shaumbra days. What do? You and it. It doesn't mean trying to throw in all sorts of positive thoughts and affirmations. Those don't work, because you're kidding yourself. But you're starting to realize there is the and. It's a true physics. It's not just a nice emotion. It is the way of realities. So you and it. You say, yes, I am depressed. I have a migraine headache. I'm sick. I have all these things wrong with me. Acknowledge it. Be in it. Be open. I mean, you are in it, but acknowledge, hey, this is where I'm at. And right here, just a half a breath away, I am not depressed. I'm not unhappy. I'm not trying to find myself. I am a master. And again, it's not a mental exercise. It's an acknowledgement that there's more to everything. It's an acknowledgement that there are potentials that are right here, right now. So, dear Shaumbra, we go into the and now. We go into what I want to be known for. Adamus taught me how to allow, and then he showed me how to and that set me free. Let's take that to Marab right now, the Marab of and. We'll play some music, and I simply ask you now to take a deep breath and with me. Let's begin. I talk about hope. The wings of hope. Kind of poetic. Those wings really are the and. That's what allows you to open up. That's what allows you to soar. Let's go. Let those wings in the and raise hope. not for the planet right now. We'll get to that later, but for you. It's so simple in a way. It's simply acknowledging that there's not just one you, there's many yous. There's not just one way of feeling, there's many ways of feeling, and you can do it all together at the same time. You can have multiple, you can feel good and bad at the same time. How about that? You can be rich and poor at the same time. And you could say, no, I'd rather really be wealthy and done with poor. Doesn't mean poor goes away. Poor stays there as a potential, but you don't have to go through that door anymore. Your light body. Some of you have been doing weird things trying to get that light body in. I mean, I've seen some really strange things. I mean, roosters are supposed to crow at the sun in the morning, not humans. And I've seen some of you do things like that. The light body is here. It's the end. It's a reality that is present. Your long path of hardships from lifetimes ago, this lifetime of the hardships. You're wondering when you'll ever get over them, go beyond them. Oh, and you've dragged so much with you. Well, you and it. You don't try to get rid of the hardships, you simply and it. Meaning that there are hardships and there's not. But then what you find yourself is gravitating to the one that serves you best. That's all you were doing with your hardship scenario, your hardship reality. You thought it served you best. You thought it, I don't know, kept you in line or made you a better being, or you had to carry the cross right there along with Yeshua. Whatever it was serving you. And now, perhaps you don't need it. The beauty is here, we're not trying to get rid of one scenario for another. We're anding it. And then there'll be a natural attraction to one or the other, but the other one doesn't go away. It's still there. The life of hardships is still there. It might be like a old suit at the back of the closet. You never pull it out. You never wear it. Doesn't even fit anymore. But it's still there in case you ever want to go back. That's the and. It's not trying to fight off things like low energy. I'm trying to take all sorts of super supplements and do all sorts of other weird things that I've seen Chamber do to now be more energized. Because it's the and. You are low energy and you have very vital, vitality-filled energy, joyful energy. It's the both. You don't wish for it. You don't hope for it. You don't aspire to it. You simply and it. In other words, you acknowledge it. You are conscious and aware of it. It's always been there. But suddenly, you open your eyes to it. And I love it because it's not just trying to move from place A to place B or D or C or whatever. It's A, B, C, and D all together. It's the and. It's almost like a game now. Which one do I choose? Do I play myself in the C role today, or do I play it in the B role? Or do I combine them and play all of them? That's true sovereignty. And that is the wings of hope. And that's what makes it possible to get into this world that Jamie describes just 20 years away. It's not wishful thinking. It's not finding some sort of genie in a bottle to make it so. It's anding it, letting it be, letting yourself be aware. Because when you're aware that that potential is there, that Jamie talked about, well, it's a potential, it's very real, and it can be realized. So dear Shambhara, take a look at how you're going to end your life. Not end your life, be very careful here, no typos. And your life, A-N-D. Or you can use the combination A and E together, ligature. So it's kind of A-E together, N-D. It doesn't matter, it's the whole concept of anding. You're no longer stuck in a lifestyle where you don't have a nice house or can't drive a nice car. You can and it. And remember, be very careful. It's not replacing one for another. It's not trying to annihilate your reality of a shitty house and a crappy broken down car. You're anding it. That way, it allows you to be conscious of all of your potential. It allows you to be conscious of, yes, there was that reality with crappy house. There's also the reality of the house of your dreams. So don't try to just transpose one for the other, shift from unhealthy to healthy. Realize the and. Do this consciously every day. 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times a day, into everything. Even if you've got a nice house, and it, and realize there's also the potential of a crappy house, and then feel which one you're actually attracted to, which one you want to manifest. In your house, in your beingness, there are many mansions. There are many dimensions. It's not about just choosing one or the other. It's about being aware of all. Of all. And then which one do you want to realize, or which ones do you want to realize? You're not just a woman or a man. You're and. You're both, and then you're neither. And then you can be one or the other, and it can all be simultaneous. This is the way of reality and energy and consciousness. And while some might say, well, that sounds pretty damn confusing, I want to pick one or the other. No, it's not. That's not natural. It's natural to realize that they're all there. And you can select one, but still realize the others are still there. You can select many, or some, or whatever. And that is about true creatorship and sovereignty. We move into the and now, full on, full force. And we don't move into the and. And this isn't a Zen mind game. This is reality. You are a man or you're a woman, and you're both, or you're none. You see the freedom it gives you? If you're sitting here as a woman, that you realize I am also a man. Doesn't mean you need to get up in the morning and shave, but it means that there is that potential, and then you can be both at once or none. I'm neither of them. I don't need that definition anymore. I'm old and I'm young. You see, you're starting to get the point now. You are all things. Now, which one do you want to live? Which one do you want to bring in reality? Which ones do you want to bring into reality? This is all about recognizing potentials. This is all about 2044. Where will you be? Will you be in one or more of the ands? Will you be in the reality of that Jamie's in, with the beauty and the ease of life? or stay in the reality where there's still hardship and wars, famine and drought, or both or none. This is what a master can do. This is what truly what Merlin does. This is what a master masters. Let's take a deep breath together as we go into the and of everything. It's what opens the pathways into that reality that may seem far-fetched right now, the reality of Jamie in 2044, but it opens the pathways. It's not something that is statistically accurate. It's not something that is a high probability, but that doesn't matter when you're in the and. It simply doesn't matter. There are no statistics, and everything is a statistic. Let's take a deep breath together into the and. The and, it's the wings of hope. It allows us to soar beyond probabilities and into the highest potentials. Some would call it magic. To me, it's just plain good physics. With that, dear Shambram, I'm off. Time for you to really feel into the and of things. And I'm going to be coming around. I'm going to be more active than ever. And I've also solicited Kathumi to help remind you constantly. You're going to be hearing and reminding you you're not stuck. With that, dear Shambra, I am Adamus and Saint-Germain and you. Thank you. Oh, and remember, all is well in all of creation.
So please take that good deep breath, really feeling into this experience. So much here, so much beauty for the future. Allowing the and. Can you breathe that in and allow it to be a part of you? Once again, so much beauty here. Breathe and feel it. Let it flow. Take the good deep breath, allowing and to be a part of your life. Breathe. Breathe and flow. Feel those potentials beyond the probabilities. Breathe. Breathing always into all that you are. Just feel it. Be with it. Take that good deep breath as we close out this really wonderful Shoud. Thank you for being here, all of you. Thank you.
You with the sad eyes, don't be discouraged. Oh, I realize it's hard to take courage